Elise brushes past the politician outside Simei Station. He's handing out flyers, and a small crowd has formed around him. In her hurry, Elise notices she hasn't caught the color of his uniform. Is it a mixture of red and white? Or all white? Or pastel blue? Or green? Not green. If it had been one of the greens, she'd definitely have stopped to take a flyer, maybe even a selfie. As she waves her wristwatch over the gantry and enters the steaming hot station, she realizes she doesn't know if the Greens are even contesting in Simei. She purses her lips a little sadly. They're made up of young university professors with socialist ideas, and she thinks their angry Instagram stories about climate change are pretty cool. She'd have liked to cast her first ever vote their way in this, the hottest August in recent memory. The train doors open and the crowd presses in, grateful for the aircon, though it barely registers on Elise's skin, which is reddening from the sun. She stands crammed in with everyone else. There's a bunch of stinking schoolboys next to her, talking about Pokemon in their cracked donkey voices. A white guy in a damp blue office shirt is staring catatonically into the distance. His armpits smell faintly of stale red wine. Elise feels a wetness on her elbow and realizes she's pressed against the auntie who she last spotted charging in as the doors opened. The doors start to close, cutting off the hot air. Then they open abruptly again. Elise turns to look. An office lady has gotten her handbag stuck in the doors. It looks expensive, and everyone winces as she yanks it back towards her. An office guy back on the platform takes advantage of the opening and squeezes in. But there's no space, so the doors close in on his backpack. The doors open again. There's a groan from the crowd, and then the grotesque industrial chomping of door on backpack. Chomp. 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 Then Elise starts to feel it. It spreads like a toxic sludge. From her stomach, through the blood. Out to the extremities of her body. Can you faster get out? Don't waste everybody's time, is the auntie yelling at the backpack guy. The outburst sends a dart of fear into Elise's stomach. The guy shouts, "Sorry," and steps sheepishly out of the train. Then the door slams shut. Satisfied, and the train gives a whine of pleasure and lurches forward towards town. A tiny whir of cold air starts to circulate, and Elise feels herself slowly relax. Just joining everyone on your commute today. Elise turns and sees a man with a receding hairline making his way into the carriage. He's just behind two very grim-looking bodyguard types who are slicing through the crowd with their jawlines. She thinks she recognizes the man from TV or Facebook, and it clicks in place that this was the man at Simei. Which is odd, because his arrival in the carriage has had the effect of some kind of celebrity benediction, and he now seems altogether too important to have been standing around in the sun doing something as banal as giving out flyers. The important man has now finished shaking hands and taking selfies with the crazy-eyed office guy, and like an equestrian horse, he comes to a gentle halt in the middle of the carriage. Then he grabs onto a handrail and just stands there. It's so deliberate and momentous that the carriage falls into an expectant hush, waiting for the important man to say something important. But he just stands there for several silent seconds, smiles contentedly, and nods his head. It's then that Elise notices two shiny Bluetooth earbuds in the important man's ears. She sees, up close, that his lips are mouthing along to a song. The crowd watches on, rapt. Several cringing moments elapse, and a terrifying realization swirls into Elise's mind. He's really just standing here taking the train. The surreality of this unsweating man trying to look like an ordinary person casts a sickening spotlight on the world around her. And then Elise really starts to feel it. The thick haze of other Singaporeans pressing in around her. And it's with this last thought that Elise realizes that there is no air passing through her nose, and she feels her body stiffen like clay baking in the sun. And she falls through the hole in the ground into a pool of cement. It's too damn much. Make it stop. Make it stop. Make it stop. It's dark and deep and cool here, stony and quiet. Elise almost regrets being roused out of this brief edifice of sleep by the slapping of a hand on her cheek. "Why, you really scared us, miss. No, don't get up. Sit down first. Sir, why don't we put her on a seat? Good idea. Come, let's. Elise gets up on her feet and sees that the important man has turned to the auntie who's nearest to them and has finally found a seat. Auntie, don't mind, maybe you can look after. I'm getting off soon. Aye, auntie. I tell you, boy, you know today's so hot, and summer morning, this kind of timing, the train always so crowded. Then you still choose to come do this kind of thing. Then still can bring so many people, take photo lah, do this kind of wayang. You cannot say everybody very sian, very hot, meh? You not paiseh for you, leh? You think what? Take train very nice, Take train very fun, is it? You think every day I take train, go Simei to Bugis, sweat like crazy, very fun, is it? You think if I have car, I will take train, meh? Don't tell me you don't drive big car. Auntie, I must meet the people, ma. This is our election time walkabout. You got think whether people want to meet you or not? Che, meet until this girl faint, Good for you only lah. Can take photo, look like hero. You got think maybe she see you then faint or not? You got think maybe the train too crowded, too hot, Singapore too many people. That's why she faint or not? Nowadays I sit train, I also want to faint. You got see my shirt how wet or not? Yeah, it's very hot, Maybe one thing you can do is ask, how come the train nowadays so hot? Last time not like that one, you know? Is it they're trying to save aircon? You want my feedback? This is my feedback. Okay, yes, very good. He turns to his entourage and motions with his hand for them to take notes. There's a flurry of tapping on phones. Thank you, auntie. The train arrives at the station and the important man moves out of Elise's orbit. Or rather, she falls out of his. Elise sees through the window another horde of people waiting to get in. The important man, flanked by his bodyguards and his entourage, waves at the people inside the train and then looks down, as if preparing a face to meet the ones outside. He finds one, big and smiling, and fancy seeing you here. As the doors open, the surprised crowd outside parts for him to leave, and he nods and waves as he does. Elise sees the procession head onto the platform and then disappear down the escalator.